Good afternoon to everyone. Happy Monday and welcome to another live at the waterhole session. Looking forward to today's session. Hopefully we have some great sightings. Please send through your questions as always. It's a live and interactive show and it's always interesting to learn alongside everyone. It looks like got a lone fish eagle on the side of the bank today. Not normally the place I'd expect to see a fish eagle. Not sure if he's maybe after a monitor lizard or... No, he's just flown off now. I'm sure he was scrounging for something in that leaf litter, maybe some small lizards or amphibians. Fish eagles are quite successful scavengers or opportunists. Their name's a bit misleading in the fact that one would think they only capture fish or go for fish, but they are certainly open to almost on any opportunity they can get. They'll also quite often steal prey from smaller raptors or generally smaller predators that can overpower, but generally be other raptors that have caught things. They'll try steal what they can. See, we've got all the hippos just lounging about. Nothing too exciting going on for them today. While we leave the hippos to continue their wallow, let's go see what's waiting for us at Aldonio. Oh, there we go. Good old Aldonio always bringing through the goods for us. Got a few zebra, elephant and a oryx in the background. Apologies for that, a few difficulties at Aldonio. We've come over to Moela Lodge here in Botswana. Huge number of zebra congregating from the far distance there all the way to this waterhole. Obviously part of the zebra migration that takes part in this part of Botswana. It's very stunning. And lone elephant bull heading out. He's had his full. Spaz, I'm sure there's a chance of zebras at Camelthorn. Obviously Moela Lodge itself is not very far from Camelthorn. I was having a look the other day. I must say all the cameras in the Boteti region, all this part of Botswana are actually quite close together. And some of them are only about 20 kilometers apart. So much of a muchness, but it's certainly nice to see the different scenery between each one. I think it must be quite spectacular to see these large herds of zebra. Everyone's often quite excited to see the wildebeest migration in the Serengeti, but I think seeing all these zebra migrating is also quite an exciting spectacle. I remember once in the Kruger Park, we saw quite a huge or large herd of zebra moving through the more open areas, and it truly is stunning to hear the noises of them galloping or stampeding and their unique calls. The Kruger itself used to have quite a larger zebra and wildebeest movement, but obviously once the fences went up to protect the game and separate them from human intervention, it did slightly affect their migration route. There is to an extent still a bit of a net migration that takes place in the Kruger from the north to the south and vice versa, but from what I've read, yeah, it pales in comparison to the migrations that used to take place before the onset of fences surrounding the Kruger National Park. It's always quite funny to see how the zebras shake their head as they slowly plod along to the waterhole. Always a bit comical. It's almost that excitement for refreshment, and it all that feeling is what it gives off.
Let's go and take a look. See you out there.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
Would you like to know at what age a buffalo calf gets its horns? These are questions that you can ask me in real time. Our safaris are live and interactive here in the heart of Africa. Join me on Safari Live and connect with nature.
We leave the zebras to carry on. We're gonna go see what's waiting for us at Tembe. I'm sure there's quite a lot to look forward to. Well, that's quite a nice treat. Wonderfully large gathering of elephants here at Tembe. I always enjoy Tembe quite a bit because aside from bathing, you often see the elephants getting up to a few tussles and getting really down and dirty in the mud. We've also got two woolly neck storks there, slowly sauntering off to the left. They'll be looking for some invertebrates or amphibians. Quite a large elephant bull there. I see he's a younger bull just backed up into him. And he didn't seem to enjoy that too much. But certainly a lot of excitement here at the Tembe waterhole today. Looking quite hot there, so I'm sure the elephants are enjoying the opportunity to cool off a bit. Dean, you'd like to know what are the two largest salt pans in Africa. To my knowledge, it's the Mokarikari pans in Botswana. And the two main pans that make up the Mokarikari pans, the Sua pan and Ntwetwe pan. I must just double check myself on that. And then, of course, you've also got the Etosha salt pan in Namibia. I've never seen them full of water. I've been to Etosha and Mokarikari, but in both circumstances it was dry, but still very breathtakingly massive. And also once I also flew over the Mokarikari pans. It's amazing how they stand out from the air like that. But it's quite pleasant to visit them in the rainy season. It attracts massive amounts of waterfowl, flamingos, pelicans, etc. So quite an interesting thing to see in itself. Those woolly neck stalks have walked all the way around the pan. I guess they're just trying to see what they can pick up on at the water's edge, see if there's anything they can feed on there. Elephants are looking rather laid back at Tembe, more standing around and resting than actually bathing too much. Lola, you'd like to know which part of South Africa can you see the most bird species? Yeah, that's quite a cool thing in South Africa. There's a number of zones to see a lot of birds. The total list for South Africa is quite close to about 1,000 different species. Obviously a number that are vagrants and seabirds. But when it comes to seeing the most in one area, two spots come to mind for me. It would be the Kruger National Park or the Lowveld. That's a very prolific zone for bird diversity, roughly about 400 to 500 different species. Obviously that's a total list. It's not a guarantee that you'll see that many on one visit. And then funny enough, the spot where we are now, Tembe, is probably also considered one of the better spots, if not slightly better. The whole Zululand, KZN, I'd say it's almost more the Isimangaliso wetland area up into Tembe. That's a very diverse birding zone with a number of different habitats. You've got sand forest, swamps, bushveld, grassland, so the bird diversity is quite massive. I've been once or twice to Tembe on birding trips, and it's really fantastic. You don't know where to look at some moments. So yeah, that's probably quite a good spot to go to if you're keen on adding quite a few birds to your list. certainly looks like these Ellies have got the right idea. A quick splash and then hiding in the shade. That part of Tembe can be quite humid and hot. I know everything looks quite lush, but I remember going there once or twice on a game drive, and it's 45 to 50 degree Celsius weather is no fun. So I don't blame the elephants for just taking it easy. I think while we leave the elephants to splash around a bit, we're going to see what's happening at Aldonio, since we haven't really spent some time there. There we go, and a couple of elephants again. There's one on the waterhole seems to have the same idea as his cousins in Tembe. He's certainly splashing himself a bit. It's actually funny, you don't often see them splashing too much at Aldonio. They tend to focus on getting their water in and then sauntering off. Got a few giraffe waiting on the fringes. They're just waiting for their chance to get a sip. Rian C, just carrying on our discussion about the large salt pans. You're asking about what about Huckskian Pan in the Northern Cape. I had a little read. I'm not personally familiar with it. I haven't been there. But it's about, from what I can understand, 200 square meters in size. So it's quite a bit smaller than Etosha or the Machari pans in Botswana. Obviously it is a large salt pan in itself, and I'm sure being there in person you would not, or you would be able to see it's quite large in its size, but I can't personally comment on it, having not been there myself. I just know Etosha and Machari quite well myself, having travelled through them and spent a little time there over the years. Pam Lotriot asking, if you want to become a field guide but plan on doing it part-time, how can you go about gaining field experience / exposure whilst still studying? Yeah, Pam, I think that's a good question. Interesting journey one finds themselves on. I also did my IFGASA courses part-time while working and doing other things. Funny enough, one of the places where I picked up a lot of things and learned things was from Wild Earth back then. Obviously, knowledge is often passed down from different field guides to one another, and that's one great way of learning. And another way is just spending time out in nature with a field guide. It's a great way to self-interpret behavior you see, or something captures your curiosity. I always find the best way is to open up a field guide and try read about it or find out about it. That's how I've learned a lot with birding myself, is seeing things and then reading up about it or wondering what it is, etc. And that's the best way to learn. My bookshelf itself is full of different books, from plants, trees, elephants, mammals. And that's, yeah, it's probably a library I don't use too extensively, but whenever I've got a question I always whip it out and go look. But yeah, time in the field is probably your best bet, and I think that sort of helps bond the theory and practical together.
This is an unbelievable afternoon.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
Would you like to know the difference between a male and female wildebeest? You can ask me questions like this in real time. Our safaris are live and interactive here in the heart of Africa. Join me on Safari Live and connect with nature.
Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
Out here, every moment counts. As a Wild Earth explorer, you won't miss a thing. Watch the Wild Earth channel ad-free 24/7 and rewind if you want to catch something again. Enjoy behind-the-scenes videos, fireside chats, and early access to travel offers. It's the best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family.
Not really do something, but they're keeping a careful watch and deciding how to react to something's presence around them. So I'd say it's generally one of the two, either a bit of discomfort or it's idle behavior taking place. Or to an extent also boredom or impatience, just passing time. Sometimes we'll often see them resting their trunks at a waterhole, not necessarily drinking, but just standing there and almost posing. We've just quickly come over to town. There's some action going on between the crocodiles. It seems like they're chasing one another. The spoonbills found himself. I hope he moves quickly. I'd probably expect this to be a bit more territorial since they're quite large crocodiles. There's generally a dominant male crocodile in a specific body of water, and obviously they'll tolerate any females on the territory, but any other... I see that herons also like to swallow the fish. Quite a bit going on the town today. We did see this heron trying to catch a few fish yesterday, but didn't do very well. But we can see he's right on, or he's already on the scoreboard today. seems like that other crocodile slinked off quite rapidly and quickly, and the other crocodile is satisfied with the message he got. I do really feel like this mat of grass is almost a minefield with crocodiles dotted throughout it. I don't think you could pay me enough money to try walk across there or wade through there. And there are also some very large specimens. And you'd like to know if fish eagles and sea eagles are in the same genus. They are in the same genus. It sounds like there's some hyenas at Jabulani, so just on there. Oh, there we go. Also a great way to beat the dry season heat. Find a shady bush. But yeah, sorry Ben, back to your question on the fish eagles and the sea eagles. Yeah, so they are taxonomically in the same genus. There's a bit of scientific name differentiation, but the fish eagle is in the same genus as your other sea eagles. And essentially your African fish eagle is the African representative of that family. It's pretty much the only eagle, that type of eagle in the genus in South Africa and South Africa for that matter. But yeah, spot on there. This hyena is very well rested and just enjoying the most of its shady spot. Certainly quite a great spot to take a midday nap. I'd be curious to know if there's possibly a den nearby that these hyenas are making use of. Normally they tend to lie up near their dens. They won't find a random spot in the bush to sleep on their own. Paul, have I ever seen a hyena hunting? I have actually. It was quite a exciting sighting, also a bit of a sad one, but still very exciting. It was one morning in the Kruger National Park at Letaba Camp on the Letaba River. Also roughly about this time of year. It was in September, so the dry season was quite noticeable. And there was a young hippo heading back to the river, and I didn't think much of it. I could see some hyenas trailing it, and I thought, oh, well, the hippo will make it back with probably this year be a bit harassed by the hyenas, but it wasn't far off from the river. And I don't know if the hippo was a bit weak or injured, but next thing it tripped or fell, and before very quickly all the hyenas descended on it. Probably about 4 or 5 of them descended onto this young hippo and started eating it and devouring it. And yeah, that was the end of the hippo, and I was quite surprised to see it. It happened very unexpectedly. Took a while for the hippo to pass away, unfortunately. It was a bit tough listening to its death bellows, but yeah, nonetheless, it was an amazing sighting, and it's just an example of how opportunistic and what good hunters hyenas actually are. It's always very exciting to have a predator on camera, especially at this time of day. It's not normal to spot them near the water holes. They're normally lying up in the shade a bit, so it's quite a treat to have a hyena presenting itself to us. They've always been one of my favorite animals. I especially love their vocalization. It's such a haunting yet beautiful sound that they make. It would be interesting to know if this is a male or a female hyena. I can't really see too many features, and female hyenas have false genitalia, so just even from that angle it's not very easy to sex the two genders in hyenas. We're going to leave our hyena to carry on its power nap. We'll move here quickly if anything changes, but we're going to see what's going on at Lentor. Ooh, wow, that's quite stunning. All these butterflies. That is very pretty. Quite a striking and vibrant scene. So all the butterflies in this case are drinking moisture from the mud, well, moisture and minerals that they extract from the mud in its liquid form. But yeah, that's what they're all drinking. That's why you'll also see sometimes butterflies will drink from fresh elephant dung. There's obviously moisture in there and minerals that they're after. Not just elephant dung, you'll see it with other types of dung. There's some butterflies that specialize in getting moisture and minerals from predator scat. So obviously quite smelly that, but everything's got its niche in the ecosystem. I would have to read up a bit on my Kenyan butterflies. I'm not super sharp on my different butterfly species. It's a hobby I haven't found myself getting into, just due to how slightly frustrating butterflies can be in all their beauty. They don't always sit too still. I find it a bit hard to focus on identifying them, but I'm sure it's probably my next hobby waiting to grab me. But it's really just peaceful seeing all the shimmering colors shifting and watching them do their thing. It's quite nice when you get to see butterflies in a situation like this where they're all sitting relatively still and you can truly sit and appreciate them. I'm going to go take a look at Victoria Falls, and it's feeding time for our vultures. There we go, they're all descending now. Patiently waiting for the meal to be served. They are quite well behaved in that way, they know the routine very well. And there's a few cheeky ones sneaking around the box, stealing from the main supply. And there goes Chaos. I see that orange object we were discussing yesterday that was near their water bowl or the water hole for the vultures. Seems to have gone. I really wonder what it was. It was quite an interesting object, but maybe it will remain a mystery. You see there's a number of tug of wars taking place all over the show. I always enjoy the spinning tug of wars as they break off and almost spin deeper and deeper into the bush. Complete chaos.
For years we've shared virtual wildlife. Now let's experience it for real. I'm Lauren Arthur and I'd love to show you my amazing home here in the Greater Kruger of South Africa. This 5-night journey is an exclusive connection to my piece of untamed Africa. I live here in these gorgeous landscapes surrounded by epic wildlife. The wild is calling, so come and join me.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
And that's it for this morning's drive.
She's just got her impala, everybody.
And we're going to be heading out and seeing what animals we can find.
Weird mixture between like cleaned that quite quickly. I'm gonna use a stopwatch. I forgot again to time how quickly it took them to clean up this bit of meat. You can still see the hooded vultures waiting valiantly on the sides there. Ross asking if I'm involved in any bird conservation projects. Ross, there's a number. I'm not personally involved in too many. I do try donate and support ones that are close to my heart where I can. Ones such as the African penguin, they're quite threatened, so I have donated to that cause. There's another small lark in the Drakensberg Mountains which is facing extinction, called Boetes lark. I've also donated to that one. I always try help my birds as much as I can. There's also a few citizen science projects, like they call it atlasing, where birders, maps are broken up into small pentads or grids, and then birders will bird within those pentads, and the sightings are then used by scientists to get an idea of distribution, population, etc. So that's one way ordinary citizen referred to it as citizen science. I atlas from time to time, and in my personal capacity I think I speak so much about birds and try to raise awareness to them and just encourage people to be mindful of them. So I try to do my bit for nature, and I'd like to think of my garden at home also being a garden of Eden with birds and lots of habitat for them to build nests in, and plants that provide natural food for them, flowers, nectar, etc. There's small ways that we can all help and support birds around us. It doesn't always have to be the big and important projects. It looks like the vultures have finished up today's lunch in record time. We're going to go see what's waiting for us at Tau. Oh wow, this is quite a mud party going on here. They are not wasting any time. Already changing colour. I'm sure it is there in the decoy, and they cannot wait to get some cooling. Often a child could be incredibly hot outside, and if you went to a water with your bare feet, it was always amazing how cool and cold that mud was, even if it was boiling outside. So no coincidence, the elephants also make use of it. And those babies are going face first into the mud. Looks like there's a young fringe who'd been pushed out by the herd. He's probably trying to continue trailing the I don't think he tolerates too well, but he's not he's on the right. He's obviously looking for to mate. He's quite mature. He's sunk, but even just his size alone, you can see how he's a fair bit males there. There's some elephants just completely popping themselves down in the mud there. I think the best way to get yourself covered in the mud is just to actually sit down on it completely. Finished the mud bath quite rapidly. You can see they're coated in quite a significant layer of mud. Quite cute to see that little one following that. Like in the cartoons where they hold their mother's tail along. So we've got a nice herd of wildebeest crossing the plains there. Also a large elephant bull slowly strolling in. You can see this herd is on a mission to get somewhere. Certainly always a treat. Elephants come down with the excitement they do. And taking a mud bath, the schedule up stopped for an actual drink. again showing us how they focus on not disturbing the water with. It seems like it's on their way out. I think we're going to on at Serendela. Being treated to some more, not as big as the herd as we had here yesterday, but certainly no complaints from this side. It seems like there was quite a few. I can see the water, or the edges of the waterhole are quite wet. So they obviously have spent a bit of time here. Lily Mouse, you'd like to, or you don't really understand how mud gets the ticks off. They stick their heads into the skin. So the reasoning behind that, why obviously it's for cooling, but then also it almost traps the ticks in the skin, mud, and ticks don't breathe from their mouth parts. They've got spiracles and different breathing organs on their body, so if they're encased in mud they will suffocate and die like that. That's one way. And then obviously the mud off once it's hardened. That in itself will pull some of the ticks off. Even obviously just the post will also rub or squish the ticks off. Not on elephants necessarily, but the rhinos that wallow, or terrapins at all. The terrapins will ticks off, so that's another way that they can also be removed.
This unfolds in front of you. Join us on the greatest and largest game drive in the world.
Out here, every wild moment matters, and as a Wild Earth explorer, you won't miss a thing. Watch the Wild Earth channel, ad-free 24/7, where you can even rewind and watch something again. Get access to behind-the-scenes videos, fireside chats, and access to early travel offers. It is the best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family.
Obviously we've moved over to Lentor. One of our photogenic terrapins. You see he's taken a break from diving off the log, but seems to be very well perched there. And a few butterflies flying in the background. Almost looks a bit like a statue. If it wasn't for the blinking that he was doing, I would think he is maybe a statue. Sure, he's trying to catch some nice rays. He's clearly had a good swim today in the waterhole. Gonna leave our terrapin to carry on his sun tanning and go back over to Tembe. And y'all are looking a bit skeptical about this water. You can see there's something splashing to the right of them, more than likely an elephant. Something making quite big splashes or ripples. And obviously Nyala are quite water animals. They cannot go they cannot go far without water. In drought situations they don't do very well. They rely on drinking every day. See, we've got some fairly large elephant bulls at the back there in the mud. They're just doing their thing. I do agree with you, dogman lover. There's certainly something quite pretty about Anyalas. Their markings are very striking and pretty. I don't remember seeing a male Anyala for the last while here at Tembe, but they're also quite regal creatures. I have an army of Anyala that patrols around my house, and now that it's the dry season, they are looking for ways to pillage my garden as the subsides, but they're also just trying to survive themselves, so I can't get upset with them. It's quite interesting. They almost seem a lot more calm at this other pool that they've chosen, and I'd almost the elephants had maybe put them on edge a bit at the other pan they were trying to drink at, and this quieter one maybe settles them down a bit. Obviously they are quite well aware king crocodiles or lions. The Tembe lions do often frequent this specific pan or waterhole, and like we were discussing the other day, there is quite a large swamp in the Tembe reserve, so are present. I've personally never seen large crocodiles. There are a few small ones, but obviously small crocodiles have to come from somewhere, so their parents will be somewhere in the park. To know which animal is the most adaptable in the biome, in my humble opinion, I think it would have to be the impala. I think any environment you go into in southern Africa or Africa for that matter has impala present in it. They are quite adaptable. They generally are found relatively close to water, but that's fine. They make it work. They graze, they browse. So obviously if grazing becomes in short supply, they start browsing, and vice versa. They breed incredibly well. Their breeding is synchronized. They tend to keep their births at the same time, so there's quite a large number of young. Obviously there's strength in numbers. It helps the survivability of the lambs. If the rains are late, the females are able to prolong their gestation ever so slightly. I think there's quite a lot of other animals that are quite adaptable. Elephants obviously are very adaptable in themselves. They can travel long distances. They too can graze, browse, etc. But I think the sheer number of impala you tend to see in most game reserves or national parks is testament to their survivability, and that's even with the amount that they're preyed on by leopards, lions, crocodiles, pythons, hyenas. Jackals will harass them, but yet they are still very prolific. Got quite a large gathering of elephants at the moment here at Tembe. It's quite a beautiful scene. Some very large bulls with large ivory moving around, but I think they're leaving us now. There's almost just elephants in every direction. That's quite hard to keep track of them all. Funny just to, well, it's quite enjoyable to see all the different states of resting the various elephants are in here at Tembe. Some with their trunks resting on tusks, some in the mud. You can see a couple of them have kind of taken up that snorkel position with their trunks. They've obviously picked up something. Could be the smell of predators like lions, maybe some visitors to the hide that is at this pan or waterhole. They could be smelling that, but there's certainly something that's gotten their attention. Just a reminder to all the viewers about Wild Earth's travel. It brings an authentic personal safari experience, connecting you with the wonders of Africa. Obviously, it's not easy. Trusted partner, and Wild Earth is definitely one of those trusted travel partners. It allows you to explore the landscapes and wildlife you know from Wild Earth. I think there's quite a few interesting spots we've all gotten to know over the years by following Wild Earth, and enables you to get closer than ever before with some of your favorite characters and meeting the crew behind the scenes. Make sure you follow Wild Earth Travel Official and visit the website for exclusive safari experiences. These elephants are just bumbling around. This bull is that's a new level of laziness. He's hanging his trunk over his tusk and still dipping it into the water to drink. Got quite long ivory, which allows him to do that. It seems like he's possibly upsetting the females a bit there. They're not too keen on his presence. Obviously also a large bull elephant can be a bit of a danger to a younger calf, just out of sheer size. But they seem to have navigated that, given him a shoulder, and he's gone on his own way. I see our woolly neck storks are still in the background there, just patrolling, seeing what they can pick up on.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
My full name is Cedric Leslie Dold. I grew up mostly here in the Lowveld. I grew up here pretty much on the southern side of Kruger National Park, a place called Marlow Park, for most of my years. Something surprising about myself, I did play drums in a band for many years. Best sighting I presented, we found Columba and the two cubs, and the cubs are just way big.
Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature, live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure. Safari, wine, and waterfalls. The ultimate African adventure. Sip South Africa's finest wines. Experience a world-class safari among Africa's iconic wildlife. And stand in front of Victoria Falls, one of the natural wonders of the world. All this can be yours with Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
Ellies. I think one of the biggest ones, and for a long time when I was younger I also thought it to be true, but is elephant graveyards. It was thought that obviously elephants will all die in one central location or specific location, and hence for the need to call it the elephant graveyard. There's no evidence that supports that. One thing that is apparent though is when elephants come across another dead elephant, they will stop to smell the bones or sniff the bones, as if they can almost recognize the individual or that they're mourning. I've seen it myself a few times. We were in winter this year at Pilanesberg National Park, and there was an elephant that had unfortunately been euthanized due to injuries, and aside from the lions at the carcass, there was a number of times where there was elephant bulls that came to sniff and spend some time, and aside from just sniffing it, they'd almost stand there quite silent. It almost appears like they're mourning. So I think that's a bit of a myth, the elephant graveyard, but there is a bit of interesting fact to it, so I'd say that's probably the biggest one. Also, of course, another one is that elephants are scared of mice. I think that came out in the cartoon era and toys stuck, but elephants are not necessarily scared of mice. I think they can get a fright from any specific creature if you sneak up on an elephant, which in itself is not easy to do, but sometimes you get it right and it can be a bit dangerous. But I think those are two big myths that stick out for me. These elephants are getting well and truly submerged here at Tembe, having a good splash to beat the afternoon sun. Some of them going headfirst into the water, obviously having to bend down a little bit to get into the pan, but still relatively deep. I see there's another collared elephant there. It's quite nice to see the effort that goes into monitoring the elephants at Tembe. Quite a few of the elephants are collared and they obviously take serious control of that. But we're going to hop over to Jabulani. It sounds like our hyena's up to something. It looks like it's sniffing around a bit. See if it's got any plans in mind for us. It might also take a bit of a dip. Hyenas are quite prone to having a swim when it's a bit hot. I've seen it a few times myself, especially in the middle of the dry season. They'll swim or they'll just plop themselves into the middle of the seems to carefully be weighing up its options. Something has gotten its attention. It might have heard something, or maybe smelled something. It doesn't look to be too cautious. I don't think it senses danger. It's maybe just checking its surroundings. Seems to be looking very intently across the waterhole. I'm also wondering if that blacksmith's lapwing is aware that the hyena is there. Doesn't seem to be aware that the hyena is there, because it will definitely try to dive bomb it, or it will be making quite a few alarm calls to alert if there's a predator nearby. It does almost appear like our hyena is having a careful look at the lapwing. Nothing too serious, but it's certainly watching. Ben, you'd like to know if hyenas mud wallow? They will. I was actually watching a documentary the other day where someone showed footage of a hyena that had mud wallowed, and they said it looked quite frightening at range. Generally they'll go more into water, but I don't think they're very picky about the water that they'll lie in. So in essence, maybe wallowing a bit in the mud. It has a number of functions, obviously cooling down if it's very hot, or masking certain scents. Obviously with the competition that lions and hyenas are towards each other, sometimes other predators will go to great lengths to mask their scents just to keep them a bit undetectable from one another. Hyenas will also often stash their kills inside waterholes to protect them from lions, and that just mainly, once again, gets rid of the scent if it's underwater or in the mud a bit. So that's generally one of the reasons why you'll see hyenas either in a waterhole or a mud wallow, either stashing things or having a bit of a cool down, and also just covering up the scent a bit. This hyena looks very, very alert or curious of something. I'd like to know what it is. It would be rather exciting if we had some more hyenas come down, or perhaps even a lion. Jabulani's been quite busy. I think last week there was also a leopard sighting at this time of day, so we never know what could be waiting for us. You can see the hyenas carefully listening in that direction. I think that's this is one of those virtues of the bush. You just have to sit and wait and see what's going to take place or what's going to develop. I'm trying to see if the hyena is thinking of drinking, or it seems to be very staring very intently across the water. I can't see anything really moving in the background there. Very interesting, something that has certainly piqued its attention. Once again, it's going again to look. And obviously it's not too easy for us to hear anything on the webcam. Oh, there we go, at least our hyena's going for a bit of a dip. One very amphibious and cool creature.
Now this leopard that we're looking at is known by the name of Hlalamba.
Even our hyena coming into the action as well now. Oh my word! She's stalking the hyena now. Leopard, hyena, lion, all together in one shot. Oh. This is action-packed. My full name is Cedric Leslie Dold. The best driver at Wild Earth, it is me. I believe I'm the best driver. I think so, because I've... best part of my job, I say, is just to try and look out for these animals, track them down. I love tracking animals. I love looking for, fresh tracks, and if you can find them, it's just at the moment of accomplishment. If I wasn't a presenter for Wild Earth, I would be the drummer for AC/DC.
If you love watching Wild Earth, here's a little tip. Become a member. You can gain access to the channel ad-free, you can rewind and re-watch sightings, and you can join our Tuesday live safaris. There's also behind the scenes videos, fireside chats, and every safari live episode, whenever you want it. It's just a better way to stay connected to nature.
Wildlife lady, I do completely agree with you. It is quite wonderful to see a hyena in the water. I'm sure that I'm a whole lot better from the heat with that little dip in the water. It seems like it's cooled off. It's got a few things on its mind. It's walking with a bit of purpose. Strolling purposely off into the bush to cause chaos somewhere. I think I've lost track, and what and there I'm going to go over to camel thorn now. Oh wow, this is quite a large gathering of elephants. Excuse me, zebras. Getting tongue twisted. But this is quite a majestic scene. I wasn't wrong, at least there are some elephants coming in to cause chaos. Shame, they're giving the zebras a real run around. I don't feel like sharing their water. But it's like Spaz said earlier, if there was a chance of zebras at camel thorn, I guess we just got our answer. Quite a huge number of them just milling about. Quite angry to see them drinking while much they're extending into the waterhole, but we can truly see the magnitude and size of this herd. Also just hanging with bottles milling about. Melanistic marble, I agree completely with you. One way of describing it, it looks like from the district decided to stop. Even the elephants are appearing like they're disappearing in a sea of zebras and stripes. On the far side, we can kind of see how the zebras are almost submerged up to their shoulders or their bellies in the water there. So they are making the most of this drink. Certainly the elephants aren't holding them back, so and I'm sure with the vast distances that these zebras are covering at the moment as they migrate around the area, they need as much water as they can get. It's probably quite a long journey or march for them up to the feeding grounds, or where the grazing is suitable at this time of year. More crocodiles attacking the zebra. There are obviously crocodiles that live in the pools of the Bateti, but I think his thirst is driving the zebras ever on, and they're doing their best to get a drink. One of the other cameras, you can actually see one of those crocodile burrows in the side of the bank that they make use of when there's basically no water. They need to then retreat to underground to survive, much like those crocodiles in the Nile or parts of the desert, the Sahara Desert, that survive in areas that don't have rainfall for many years and simply wait it out underground until the rain returns. Shelley, you'd like to know if it's one big herd? No, I don't think it's one big herd. I think it's, well, you could at this point call it one big herd, but it's probably a collection of different groups getting together. The males obviously tolerating each other in these situations, but under these situations you'll have many breeding herds getting together, with different herds coming together to share the water resource, etc. As they move off into the feeding and grazing areas, they'll start to separate or loosely form into their separate herds again, like that. But they will stick to their specific herds with their one dominant stallion and a few of his mares in his harem. But yeah, it is interesting how the rules are kind of relaxed in certain situations. I really do enjoy that sound of the zebras calling. It just continuously fills the air here at Camelthorne. Certainly drowns out the bird calls a bit, but it's quite a pretty sound to also hear. Continuous movement of zebras almost looks like almost a conveyor belt of stripes just moving, coming and going. And such stunning animals. Once again doing the ever-present head bob as they move out. And the next batch will probably also move in to take their spot where they were drinking. There we go. A few more coming to drink. This has a relative peace. Sometimes you will see tempers flare a bit between some animals in these situations. There'll be a few kicks or bites that will take place, and I guess a zebra demeanor can be misleading, but they can bite and kick quite forcefully and cause a bit of harm to one another. See a number of people commenting about the magnitude of this herd. It is truly stunning. It's It's like that feeling I was kind of speaking about when we saw a large herd moving in the Kruger. It really is stunning to watch, and the sound that accompanies it, it's one of those awesome raw nature scenes. I think in many cases any animals migrating in large numbers is a very striking thing to see. I see elephants dishing out a bit of a dominance there. Obviously not impressed to share the waterhole with the zebras and all their noise, etc. Nomar Gugudube, please excuse me for my pronunciation, but you'd like to know, how do zebra patterns serve as deflectors from biting insects and provide some thermoregulation? So yeah, it's quite interesting. Over the years, people have said the stripes help a bit with camouflage, etc., breaking up the outline of the animals, but at the same time, cats tend to see in black and white, so that's also a question mark there. So yeah, there's a lot of ideas and theories about the zebra stripes, etc. But there has been a bit of research done with tsetse flies and other biting insects on different cloths, how they land and how it affects their vision and targeting compared to like a solid coat or one solid color. But in short, yeah, the zebras avoid irritating disease-carrying flies like the tsetse fly, which carries sleeping sickness. That has been proven. They did see with striped cloths that there was somewhat an improvement. And it's also zebras with the black and white. Also, obviously, white is quite a cooler color in the sunlight compared to black. We see that with different animals as well, like oryxes, the markings on their face. Cheetahs have very dark markings to absorb light, which they say act like visors or sun visors in a way. So yeah, there will also be, to an extent, some thermoregulation going on. What's interesting to note with zebras is each of their coat patterns are unique, which also argues with that theory ever so slightly, because if it was serving a specific purpose, then the markings would be quite similar in specific locations at all times. Much like an oryx, they tend to always have the same markings on their face in the same locations, whereas the zebra stripes can differ quite dramatically from one to another. Moonbeam Smith, no, I have not read any of Anne Dagg's work. It sounds like I must open my horizons a bit and have a bit of a gander there. It sounds quite interesting. Well, we're going to leave the endless moving mass of zebras and we'll go see what's going on at Jabulani with the baboons that we're calling. This could be what our hyena was having a look at. Obviously a troop of baboons can be a bit of a threat to a lone hyena, especially the larger males, quite strong, and especially when you've got incisors, canines longer than a lion, I would be quite cautious. Obviously a hyena will definitely grab a smaller baboon or a female. That's definitely on the menu for food, but a troop of baboons is not to be messed with. Often leopards will they enjoy hunting baboons and it's a stable food source for them, but it needs to be done very quickly and carefully, because if the troop turns on a single leopard, there can be chaos. There's a lot of videos over the years that have been taken of leopards catching baboons and hightailing it with their prey, or the troop has turned on them, and then it's chaos. And you've got a leopard doing its best to get out of there. And obviously baboons can do quite a bit of damage with those big canines of theirs, and their immense strength. It's said that a male baboon is twice as strong as a human male, and with those fingernails of theirs, obviously they can rip and tear quite convincingly. But these guys look quite peaceful for the moment being, also taking it easy in the shade. Probably had a drink as well. Marinda, you're just asking, is it possible that the hyena left because he or she heard the baboons? I do think that is the reason. I think that's why our hyena was looking so intently across the waterhole and seemed to also be listening very carefully. I didn't pick up any of the audio of the baboons. I missed that, but I did see some viewers that said they could hear baboons barking. So you'll probably find that the hyena was aware of, and definitely decided or had a plan in mind. It wanted to have a bit of a dip, but it got out of there. I think it foresaw the coming of this large baboon troop. I'm not entirely sure which direction these baboons came from, but it does look roughly where our hyena was looking is where the baboons have originated from. Definitely the smart move in this situation. Obviously, if there was a pack of hyenas, I think it would be quite a different story. I don't think they would have been very worried about the baboons, and I think the baboons actually would have been quite a bit more cautious if there was a few hyenas wallowing or bathing in this pool. I see we've got a bit of a fight taking place with the baboons, and probably some dominant males challenging one another.
Oh, wow.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
You can see all these females and young baboons foraging a bit in the mud. Not entirely sure what they'd be picking up and looking for. I can only think it's some small greenery growing in the mud there. In some cases, and I've seen it in the Okavango Delta, where they will dig up water lily tubers, and it's quite funny because they get quite muddy in the process, but they will forage and try get hold of those. Apologies with that, there was a problem with the feed. We've come over to Moala. Once again, no shortage of zebras, but looks like the elephants are guarding the clean, fresh water for themselves. But a very large congregation of zebras moving around. You can see a bit of a dust tornado blowing through there, right over the zebras. Shame. Vic, you're asking if there's any baboon species that are not social. To my knowledge, not really. I think the only one that kind of comes to mind, and actually I don't think that's correct, is the mandrill, because they also stay in troops. I'm just thinking of the quite intimidating and well, they're quite pretty, the males, but also quite intimidating. But even then, they also live in troops. I'd say that's quite a unique feature of most primates. They have got some social structure or family structure to an extent. There's very few primates that are actually truly not social, or that are actually solitary. There's none that really come to mind for me. Orangutans ever slightly, but even then they've also got quite closely knit family bonds, or the mothers spend a lot of time with their offspring for years. Even bush babies. People may think that they're solitary because they are seen solitarily at night, but during the day they roost together in a family, and also incredibly territorial. They have huge fights with one another over territories. I'm gonna head over to Safari Hook and see what's going on there. Seems like the zebra are just passing the time now. Well, that's quite a stunning sighting. We've got a Kori bustard here. Unfortunately, we only caught a short glimpse of our Kori bustard there. But that was quite a pretty sighting. The largest flying bird in Africa, one of. But we've still got some other treats to enjoy here at Oldonyo. Also some more zebra and a few guinea fowl coming in to drink. I'd say the African equivalent to the turkey. Maybe just a fair bit noisier. Certainly looks like most of the waterhole rushes are over here at Oldonyo. Most of the elephants have left, and the zebras seem quite content at the back there. particularly Rose mentioning she's only ever seen some mango monkeys on their own. I've, in my time, only caught a few glimpses of some mango monkeys. They can be quite shy, but normally their appearance is just, or the evidence of them is them just bolting through the forest. They can also be quite naughty in some of the areas where they are used to humans. I had a large troop of monkeys running around my house this afternoon. It looked like a parkour session. I'll have to pick up and clean up a few things from outside, but that's the joys of living in the bush.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
Welcome to Safari Spotlight. We'll be
And you pretend like you're a citizen, eh?
Got no idea what's going on this reserve.
Expecting the unexpected.
Are we stuck down there?
What am I trying to do?
Because we have another giant of Mabula.
That was incredible.
This is unbelievable.
It's going to be a spectacular afternoon.
Few seconds. It's quite a short process, but yeah, this seems to be a bit of a social gathering here. Three's a bit of a crowd, but we'll obviously the crocodiles feel different about that. So generally when a crocodile lifts its head like that, it's a bit of a submissive display. But they seem to all be scrambling over each other. Some very large crocodiles, that's for sure. Yeah, melanistic marble putting it well with very shiny and pointy teeth of the crocodile smile there. These are certainly not some animals I'd like to tangle with. These are three quite large crocodiles. It almost seems like this other crocodile that came in at the end here is trying to court the female, which I assume is the lighter brown one. I don't know if it was maybe a less dominant male that was taking an opportunity, although there wasn't really any aggression from the crocodile that approached. I know we did see earlier in the show the crocodiles chasing each other around the waterhole. Very interesting interaction. They seem to just be bumping each other around and almost like bumper cars. I really didn't think. I'm very perplexed why there's a third crocodile just hanging around and it's being tolerated. You would think there's only two that are part of the mating pair. I see the supposed female is slinking off. It almost seems like these two two at the back here are keeping a very close eye on each other. Either quite evenly matched competitors, or it's on thin ice for tolerance at the moment. Well, now that the action's over with the crocs, we're going to head over to Camelthorn for the last bit of the show. Oh, there we go, got a hippo out of the water a bit. I don't know why it would choose to be out of the water at this time of day. It certainly seems quite hot at Camelthorn. I don't know if it was feeling a bit annoyed by the large number of zebras that had come to visit. But it does look like this hippo's been out of the water for quite a bit of time. Definitely could be a less dominant bull, and he's maybe been pushed out of the water a bit. So that might be a larger reason why he's keeping himself out of the water. Quite a bushy tail there. You don't often see a hippo's tail sticking out too much. It almost looks a bit like a brush. Looks like he is considering getting back on the water. Probably left a bit for a nap or some feeding, but the relentless heat's probably getting a bit much. But hippos all do interesting things. Almost a while ago we were also at a hide in the middle of the day in winter, and all of a sudden a hippo appeared from underneath a tree in the bushes and entered the water at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Quite the opposite of what you would expect on their time frame. But once again, thanks to everyone. It's really been an interesting session at the waterhole today. I hope everyone's enjoyed it. I'm sure there's a few more things for us to enjoy as the show winds down, but once again, thank you very much, and I really enjoyed it. He's got the right idea. He's just plopped himself down and gonna cool down a bit, maybe snooze further in the water. almost appears like our hippos become quite two-toned with the dry skin versus the wet skin. But a very peaceful end to today's show. This hippos are slowly gonna doze off while we finish off today.
Well, a very good morning to everybody, and thank you so much for joining us on our sunrise safari on this lovely Saturday morning. And wow, look at this, we've already got our old faithfuls, the alarm of South Africa, the hardy ibis, and there's two of them just